Bisnol, Corey, with the big-time coaching jobs that are now open, LSU, Florida, Penn State, and others, potentially Auburn, opening up soon, is there a greater chance that we keep Mike simply due to the fact that we will not be able to pay up for a legitimate and desirable candidate? That's one way to be looking at this stuff. Tony G from DB, teams are firing coaches everywhere that have done more and recruited better than Mike. So is it time for FSU to just say bye-bye and get started on a search? Or should FSU not be wishy-washy and back Mike fully? Because limbo doesn't work. And then we go to Crazy Seminole, who I think these are all like related, Corey, but I'll be honest with you, man. Crazy Seminole's been a subscriber since 2004.
Okay.
So tie goes to the older dude. Does the imminent piling on of firings push up the timeline for potentially letting Mike go? And again, this is the biggest thing that's kind of happened since we did the show on Sunday, which we recorded really early on Sunday before it became official. But, seeing Brian Kelly being jettisoned has got everybody else asking all these questions, Corey. It's generating discussion. It's sparked by Cummins. Let us do so. Can you give us some energy, Corey, please? Push the button, though.
Oh, yeah. Push. But still start it if you can.
There we go. It's generating discussion. It's sparked by Cummins. Give them a follow on Instagram. It's all one word, CumminsLifestyle. There's Noles behind the whole marketing operation at the corporate level, everybody. So let's support our own. You can see all the cool things you can do, again, with your outdoor recreational time when you've got portable, reliable, quiet power. You know who's been doing it for a long, long time? Cummins. Give it a follow on Instagram. Check out what you can do with those portable generators, whether it's on wheels, whether it's on the wheels of your RV, whether it's on your boat. You know how it goes. Portable power, quiet, reliable. It's Cummins. Give them a follow. All right, Corey. Does the imminent piling on of the firings, has it changed your calculus at all? I was a little bit more fired up. I put in the group chat, I was like, I'm glad we recorded before the Brian Kelly thing, because I might have been a little bit more emotional and a little bit more frustrated with what Florida State's dealing with right now. Is what we're seeing across the country. And you asked Mike about it on Monday, didn't get really a great answer, but just everything else that's going on, is that going to have to affect the calculus for the Florida State administration?
I struggle with this because I don't think so. I think Florida State is its own entity, and you can't really be worried about what LSU or Penn State. And it's really just LSU. We knew Napier was done. LSU was the one that's a surprise because now maybe you didn't think they'd be on the look for a head coach 3 weeks ago, and now they are too. So maybe you're competing with them, but maybe you're not. Maybe they're fishing from a different pond than you anyway, or you're not going to be going for after whoever they decide to go for. There's a lot of coaches out there that are capable of leading both of these programs. I think what Florida State fans are worried about is like the pecking order. Okay, LSU gets to go first. Then what? Florida, then Florida State, or Florida State, then Florida. Where's Penn State in the mix? Right now, those are the big four, right? Penn State, LSU, Florida, and Florida State. I would argue that Florida, Florida State, and LSU to me are just about equal. If you get a good coach in there, you're going to win and win a lot. Penn State has not won a national championship since 1986. Now, they were in the playoff last year, so they're capable of doing it. But I just think it's easier to win at Florida, Florida State, and LSU than it is Penn State. So I think those three might be in the market for some of the similar names. And if does LSU, like is James Franklin, let's just use Franklin as an example. If he's coming down to choosing between LSU and Florida State, does it matter that LSU fired Brian Kelly on October 26th and Florida State didn't fire Mike Norvell till November 26th? Like, does that matter? If there's talks going on behind the scenes, which we're all grown-ups, we know there will be with whoever their potential candidates are. Florida State is not going into this thinking, well, let's see what that Florida game looks like at the end of the year. Then we'll decide who we should go after as a head coach. They're figuring this thing out. So I guess I think it's more about if Florida State looks terrible against Wake Forest. I think you make the firing I think you make the decision whether Brian Kelly was still at LSU or not. I don't know that it has much to do with it, honestly.
I mean, I get it though. Again, like you said, it's you're kind of drafting, right? Like, I don't know exactly where Florida State's draft spot is going to be. But I mean, there's going to be so many openings, and there's not going to be enough qualified or candidates that meet the the standard at a lot of these programs. But I think Florida State shouldn't be one of those teams that's going to have to contend with that. What do you think about Bisnol's kind of thing about, is there a greater chance with all these openings, right? Like all these other guys are going to be open, all these other programs rather, that, they have to keep Mike just because they will not be able to afford a guy that's Florida State standard. Like they cannot throw $13 million a year at Lane Kiffin. They can't throw, whatever else. I don't know who else is like, the hot board's got like Clark Lee or whatever from Vanderbilt, which I don't think he'll leave. He's a Vanderbilt alum. He's from Nashville, but is there any fear that Florida State might have to hold on because they simply just don't have the war chest to get a guy that is a slam dunk better than Mike Norvell?
Yeah, but I don't know who out there other than, to me, Lane Kiffin. I don't know who's a slam dunk. So no, I would think that'd be financially irresponsible and kind of dumb, honestly, in the current landscape. I will be to just pay a coach that kind of money. I will be really interested to see whoever Florida or LSU does hire, or Penn State. What kind of buyout language are you going to have? It's just the way of the world. Are these ADs and presidents finally going to get their heads out of their behinds and realize you don't have to have those kind of ridiculous buyout clauses in these contracts? They want to coach at your institution. Or otherwise Jeff Brom wouldn't be interviewing at Penn State. And I'm just using him as an example, if he didn't want to come there. So don't bid against yourself and say, we'll give you a $50 million buy. It's just stupid. It's pure stupidity. But look, man, I think other than Lane Kiffin, I don't know that there's anybody that out there that's even worth half that. If you're going to give them a real roster, man, give them a real roster, give them money to spend on a real roster, and make your contract incentive laden, where if you reach these certain milestones, you get more money and more money. That to me is the way to do it. I don't think Florida State is. I would be surprised if they're in the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes. I also would be surprised if Lane Kiffin left. But I think everybody else is in play. I think anybody that would consider LSU would consider Florida State, would consider Florida, would consider Penn State. There are, and out of those 4 hires, 2 of them are probably not going to be good. They're not going to work out. And the likelihood is all 4 of the guys that get hired at those 4 schools are going to be fired. That's just the way of the world. So know that going in. I don't think that you are losing any ground as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing behind the scenes and doing your due diligence behind the scenes. I don't think you're losing any ground in some coaching search because LSU axed their guy on Sunday night and yours is still answering questions the Monday morning wearing a Florida State polo. I don't think you're behind. I don't think you're behind in the race.
I know it's not definite, right? It might not even be a probable thing, and but it does affect the entire dominoes thing of all this. But Steve Sarkisian, I think, has had 2 quotes out there after the game where they beat Mississippi State. Where there was a report from Diana Rossini that apparently his agency has reached out to NFL teams to gauge their interest in him being a head coach at the NFL, but then his agents came out and say it's it's irresponsible or inaccurate. But, Sarkisian has been I think it was crazy for them to report that and for everybody to believe it. But he wasn't and it's not true.
Right.
So if the Texas job opens up too, then does that then affect the calculus, or does everything kind of stay the same in your mind about, listen, Florida State's got a place. They've probably have a profile of the guy they want and they're working it right now. And, maybe you feel a little bit of heat to try to get it done sooner than later. Even if they do beat Wake Forest, if a job like Texas comes open and maybe they start kicking around the tires of that guy that you have identified.
But I wonder what the time element matters. If everybody's doing the same due diligence behind the scenes, one doesn't have a job opening yet, but will soon, we all assume. The other ones, the jobs are already open. I don't know that affects anything. It's agents talking to other agents, or it's agents talking to administrations. I don't think the head coaches are talking or going on interviews right now. So other than there are some, it's a unique season though. It's a unique cycle because I think Brian Kelly is going to be wanted. I think James Franklin is absolutely going to be wanted, and they're not coaching right now. So that makes it a little different. Usually you're hiring from coaches who have done well, not that have just been fired. Yeah. But because we live in this crazy world now where 2 highly successful coaches just got fired, it changes the dynamics a little bit, where you could be reaching out to a Brian Kelly and he would absolutely be interested because he's not game planning for Alabama. in Penn State, and James Franklin's not game planning for Ohio State. He's there doing nothing. So he would listen more, and maybe that's where it gets you. If you're somehow and for some reason waiting till the end of the season to explore all these options, and I just don't think they are. I would be stunned if Florida State hadn't reached out to sent feelers out to 8 to 10 different people.
Well, here's the thing. Like, can you take a Florida State back channel conversation as serious as you can take an LSU or a Florida one right now? Because they do not have a coach. And I get it. Like, hey, they're telling us that they're going to move on from him, but they haven't, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. It goes back to the whole honor amongst thieves and Jimbo. Like, I'm not going to talk about jobs that other people have. And it's like, I do wonder how much that affects things.
Yeah, but I think if it wasn't so imminent, it just feels so imminent. This isn't like, and I think Auburn feels imminent. I think Auburn is waiting for him to lose another game, and then Hugh Freeze is probably done. But hey, Hugh Freeze managed to win a game, Mike. Wasn't that something? On the road, no less. So I think that I do think that's a good point. But I feel like Florida State feels so imminent. It's not like up in the air whether he stays or goes. I feel like we all think he's going. That maybe makes those conversations a little easier than they would be otherwise, or at like a place like, I don't know, man, like South Carolina, if they're looking to maybe think about going in a different direction from Beamer. That this feels different because this feels so likely. It's just a matter of when, not if, that would matter. And maybe if they get the yes from someone that they want, and it's not official, but it's definitely a yes, he's coming, then maybe the Norvell firing at that point is expedited. I don't know. I don't know how these things work. I just know that Florida State fans wanted Mike Norvell fired a while ago, and it angers them, understandably, that LSU doesn't waste any time. Penn State didn't waste any time. Florida even didn't waste any time. They fired their guy after a win. And yet you keep holding on to this guy. From the outside, it could be perceived as those teams care more about winning than you do. That's not a great look. At the same time, there are other factors in play, and we'll see how it all shakes out, man. We'll all know by December 5th where all these schools landed and who we think won this coaching cycle.
Go to warchant.com. Check out Irish O'Fell's reporting, what he's hearing behind the scenes. He's been on this beat for like 25 years, everybody. So he knows a lot of the voices, and he's reported some stuff on the site that you probably will find interesting if you're panicked about time frames and is this guy safe, and if this happens, will this happen, and et cetera, et cetera. So he'll connect the dots for you. It's only $1. Go check it out, warchant.com. Also check out Cummins Lifestyle on Instagram. It's all one word. Give them a follow.